welcome back. This is episode 4 of the Hoop Life Productions podcast. I'm here with my co-host Chance. How you doing?
What's good, everybody?
So, on the last episode, we talked about the off-season and free agency, winners and losers. And today we got more player-by-player analysis. We're going to start off with award predictions, and then we'll go to our breakout players. So, I guess we could start right away with MVP. Who did you have, Chance?
I had Dame for MVP. I just think he's due. He's never had a team as good as this and as talented as this. So I think Portland has a chance to be a top 3 seed in the West, and then Dame's going to be a guy that averages something close to 30, maybe 8 assists, a few rebounds. I think if Portland can be one of the best teams in the league in terms of record, and then Dame does the production that he did last year, I think it would be hard not to give him the MVP.
Yeah, I had Dame as my runner-up, so I'll talk about him for a second. As we discussed in the last episode, the Blazers really just had so much improvement roster-wise, and Dame could, with this roster, easily average 30 again.
Right.
But I don't think he has to have his best scoring season to have his MVP season. He's never been known as a playmaking type of guard, but I think he can usually get 6 to 8 to maybe even 9 assists with the guys he's got this year. So
I think the best part of that Blazers team is the fit around Dame is a lot better than last year. I think injuries, hopefully they're not a problem for them this year. I mean, they were last year. That's why they almost missed the playoffs. But, Dame, I see him probably having a career year, and along with that, the Blazers being a really good team.
Yeah.
So Dame was my pick, and then I had Luka as runner-up. And if I remember right, you had Luka winning MVP.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick either guy here. Neither of us are wrong. So, yeah, Luka was my MVP. It's crazy to think that, right? He's 21 in his second season. Yep. He's an MVP candidate.
Right.
I think, not that this validates it, because it was one of the worst lists I've ever seen, but ESPN had their top 100 players or whatever, and I think Luka was like 4 or something, which even on a bad list is crazy to see a 21-year-old guy go from, European draft pick to 28, 8-8 or whatever he had last year was pretty
crazy. The only reason he wasn't the number 1 pick was because he's European, and people have that European bias.
So I think we're going to see him with a better, improved team, and him improving, and hopefully a healthy Porzingis. I mean, this Mavs team could easily be a top 3-4 seed. So
I think the talent is very similar to last year. I mean, you're pretty much replacing Seth Curry with Josh Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
But defense was something that they struggled with last year. Offensively, they were record-setting, right? I mean, they were...
Yeah, they were insane. It was
right,
crazy.
In terms of points per game, I think they're going to be around that, but
I think
the guys they brought in, they're going to be better on the defensive end, and with that, they'll be a better team than they were last year, and that gives Luka a chance to win MVP, because as a 7th seed last year, obviously you don't have a shot at winning MVP. But
and I think take away some questionable calls and Porzingis' injury in the playoffs in the bubble, I think they beat that Clippers team, or at least they take him to. Did they take him to 7? No, I think it went to 6, right?
It was 6.
Yeah, I think they take him to 7 or a win.
It was impressive that they got to 6.
Yeah, so I expect them to come back this year and just be, even better, and that starts with Luka. And yeah, I got him as my MVP. So we can go to another exciting award, the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and this was the easiest one for me to kind of come up with the list. I had LaMelo winning Rookie of the Year for obvious reasons, and then Obi Toppin as another guy. Yeah. And the trend with this is what guy is going to come into the league and have
the green light.
Right, the biggest role. Because you think Edwards, who was the top pick, he's going to be behind Edwards. He's going to be behind Karl Towns and D'Lo as scoring options. So I don't see him really having a shot at Rookie of the Year.
You got guys like Wiseman who is going to be behind. I mean, not the injury of Clay.
I mean, if Wiseman averages a double-double, there's a scenario where he's up on this list. But
especially if they're a contending team. So.
But yeah, LaMelo,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons, he's going to be in Charlotte. He's the guy. He's going to be running the point guard. He's running the franchise. And like, just in the past and this year, I think he's proven to be a guy that puts up really good numbers. And the guys that receive awards, they put up numbers. They're not those unflashy guys. And LaMelo's a flashy guy.
I mean, every year the Rookie of the Year award, we haven't seen the guys play, so all you can base it off is their green light and how much they love the ball. And LaMelo's a point guard for one of the worst teams in the league roster wise. So I have him obviously as first place for Rookie of the Year too. I had Obi as the runner up for same exact reason, green light. And I won't say this for every award, but I think for the sleeper pick, I guess for this, because he technically is eligible. He didn't play enough games last year as Bol.
Yeah, I like that.
If he gets a significant role with Denver and can stay healthy, he could easily win that award. He's got freakish talent. We talked about him last episode. So, yeah, very possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think with Obi, he's one of the more NBA-ready guys because he did all 4 years in college. But the other thing is he's one of their top options already. I think he'll be. I don't see the fit with him and Julius Randle. Can Obi play the three? I mean, that's yet to be seen in the league, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think Randle's a guy that'll take away from a lot of what Obi can be. But until they get rid of Julius Randle's contract, I don't think we'll see the full extent of what Obi can really be.
Yeah, I think if you're smart, in other words, if you're not the New York Knicks, you don't let Julius Randle
take the most shots.
You don't let him hinder your rookie.
You give it to guys like R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson and Obi Toppin, like the guys that can be something, because we know what Julius Randle can be, and he just has too big of a role in the Knicks, and that's really the only thing that I could see holding back Obi Toppin.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, rookies, LaMelo, Obi, and if Bol can stay healthy, those are our guys.
Yeah.
Who do you got for sixth man?
I had Trez winning it because he's going to be the best sixth man on a team that's going to have one of the best records in the Los Angeles Lakers. And he won it last year. He put up really good numbers, and he has maybe a bigger role this year on the Lakers than he did with the Clippers. So I thought Trez was a really good pick. The thing with that is, like, does Marc Gasol start over him? I would say he does, but Trez obviously gets the bulk of the minutes.
Like I said, in the last episode, I was listening to the Road Tripping podcast with the LeBron episode, and his words were, Trez was a huge pickup for us because he's going to lead that bench unit, and it's going to be big for us. So if LeBron James says Montrezl Harrell comes off the bench, I will bet Montrezl Harrell comes off the bench.
The other thing is the Lakers had the shortest offseason in NBA history, so LeBron and AD are going to be kind of on a minutes restriction, I would guess, and that leaves even more minutes for Montrezl Harrell to play.
And the loss of Dwight.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought back.
It just kind of inflates his numbers for what he's typically puts up, but
yeah.
But yeah, and then for runner-up, I had Dinwiddie, and it's just another case of a really good bench guy on a really good team. Like, the Nets are going to be one of the top teams in the East, and Dinwiddie is proven before in absence of Kyrie Irving because he just doesn't ever play. Like, Dinwiddie's usually the starter. Obviously, that's not the case this year, but Dinwiddie can produce at a really high level.
So, for me, for the sixth man, it's an interesting case because I had Dennis Schroeder because I think if he comes off the bench, he's a clear-cut pick in my opinion.
Yeah.
But who knows if he comes off the bench? He's, he can easily play the guard for them. So who knows? So I had him winning, but case scenario he doesn't. I'm gonna go with Dinwiddie just because I feel like Dinwiddie might have a bigger role than Harrell, which says a lot because Harrell will still have a really big role. But on a team like the Nets, I think they'll rely on their depth a lot because they're just in such a weird situation where how many games is Kyrie going to play?
You don't know how many games their top guys are going to play.
So, yeah, he's big for that. I think the one thing that could stop him from winning is him ending up having to start because who knows what will happen with Kyrie.
Right.
So
yeah, there is a scenario where he starts too many games to where he's ineligible to win Sixth Man of the Year.
And then in that case, Schroeder, Dinwiddie, whoever, say Schroeder starts and Dinwiddie would be my runner-up. But if Schroeder doesn't start, if Schroeder starts, then Dinwiddie, and then I'd have.
And this is such a weird award to predict.
Yeah.
Before the season, because you don't know who is going off the bench. Like, maybe they're starters, maybe they're coming off the bench. But yeah, those are our guys. Yeah. And then let's just go to most improved player. This was kind of an easy choice for me, and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You had him.
The same guy.
Yeah, you had him.
Not even. I'm not even.
I just don't know how you can choose. Yeah, I don't know how you can even choose anybody else because Shai, who was behind CP3 and Gallo for them in terms of scoring options.
Dennis, he didn't score as many points as Shai, but he led the bench more than Shai led the starters because CP3 was there. So he had a bigger green light than him even. And now, talk about guys' biggest green lights in the league. James Harden stays in Houston. I'll have it. Who else? Giannis has a green light. Steph Curry will always have a green light. But Shai's up there already just due to the fact that...
They're building around him.
Yeah, they're building around him. So...
Yeah, the Thunder are most likely going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But with that... Shai's going to get more touches than he's ever seen.
I hope they're terrible, man. Like I said, we have the next 50 middle schoolers. So,
exactly, yeah.
So it's a good thing.
So, yeah, we see Shai as just being a guy that takes a huge jump in terms of stats. Obviously, he's not going to be winning as much as he did in his first 2 years in the league, but that's just kind of how it goes sometimes for young guys in the league. But, yeah, he's going to take a huge step for sure. And then my other guy was Michael Porter Jr., who I actually posted on the IG. Shout out to the IG.
Shout out to the IG.
Follow us, Hoop Life Productions. It's as simple as that. I had him as a breakout player because, first of all, he's been a guy that we thought was going to break out a little earlier than he has.
Saw it in the bubble.
Because he's 6'10", he's an absolute bucket, can score from anywhere on the floor, and he's just so smooth. And then you also think about the loss of Jeremy Grant, and that just means more minutes for Michael Porter Jr.
There's not a lot of guys that come out of high school and college that when you assess them as players, you just say they can get buckets from every part of the floor. Kevin Durant was that guy. Michael Porter Jr. was that guy. Brandon Ingram was that guy. And then I think the next guy is the high schooler, Moni Bates. Yep. But, there's not a lot of those guys. And those guys almost never fail. I can't think of an example. Michael Porter Jr. would be the first one, and that would only be because of injuries. If then we cross our fingers, that's not the scenario. But I had him as the dark horse, along with actually another guy I had was Dante DiVincenzo. I think if he takes a big step, he's got a bigger role this year with the Bucks. But
this is a list where you could make a pretty big one. DeAndre Ayton's a guy.
Yeah.
But a few Chicago Bulls, they were so terribly coached last season, and then they bring in Billy Donovan, who's a guy that's proven that he can coach.
He outcoached young players. Steve Kerr in the playoffs. He's outcoached. They didn't win, but he's outcoached a lot of players or a lot of teams. But my runner-up actually was Mitchell Robinson, who we talked about before.
I like that.
He's gonna have a lot more touches. His only problem these last 2 years, I think it's 2 years. This is year 3 for him.
Foul trouble, right?
Yeah, foul trouble. He just can't stay on the floor because he's always getting in foul trouble, and that's just him being block happy or just which he'll improve on. And
right, discipline comes with more years and more time in the league.
He reminds me a lot, and this could be a good or bad thing, of young Andre Drummond in Detroit.
Yeah.
He just has all the tools, and hopefully, unlike Drummond, he'll put his tools towards his defensive end.
Hopefully the Knicks can give him a playmaker because that makes him that much better. And that's the same case with Ayton, who we just talked about. The addition of CP3. When's the last time a center got worse with CP3? It just doesn't happen. They usually take a massive jump.
I think the Knicks made some post on IG about Alfred Payton starting.
Yeah.
So he can play make. So No, he's not Chris Paul.
He's not the playmaker I thought he was coming out of the draft.
Yeah.
But.
So I don't know. They don't really have a designated guy, but yeah. So those are our picks for MIP. So, you want to go to defensive player?
Yeah, and I had Giannis repeating for obvious reasons. He rebounds the crap out of the ball for a power forward, and he's just dominant in general on the defensive end. Block shots, steals. He can guard 1 through 5. It's just hard not to choose him, especially when he's putting up the numbers that he's done in the past. So I really like Giannis there, and then runner-up I had Gobert.
So my runner-up was Giannis. He could win this award with ease. This was another one where
he'll always be up there every year.
I actually had, for the same reasons you already said, but my first place pick, mine was Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons.
Under the
I
radar.
think you can make the argument Paul George, despite his offensive struggles in the bubble, Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons. Is there any other guys that are those the 3 best all-around perimeter defenders for their size? Those guys just clamp people up, and
for sure
they're great in every way. And Ben Simmons is a better interior defender than those two.
Simmons somehow has gone underappreciated, I think, in the league just because of his lack of ability to shoot.
People don't realize that there's a lot of guys who are pretty good at everything and then bad at one thing. The thing about Ben Simmons, he's can't shoot. He's literally top of the league elite at every other rebounding, passing, defense. I'm a big Ben Simmons fan, so that might be a little biased towards why I picked him. But before the shutdown of the league, he was up there with Giannis for Defensive Player of the Year. So I have him, and then my third place was runner up behind Giannis was Anthony Davis for same reasons as Giannis. He can win it every year. He's got all the tools.
My one case against AD is going to be the minutes restriction that he'll most likely see. Just from the they won the finals 2 months ago. And here they are coming right back for another 72-game season. So.
I think we could see a situation where him and LeBron are both so dominant, along with the Lakers as a team, where they maybe say LeBron gets MVP or he's up there, and they want to give AD recognition. I think
for sure. Yeah, that's a scenario, and that could definitely happen for sure because the Lakers are loaded.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Gobert. He's a guy that has won the award in the past. What, he won 2 years in a row?
Yeah, I think he's won it to the point where his defense has been unappreciated in terms of historically. There's not a lot of centers. There's a lot of centers that reduce shots in the post versus the teams they play. But if you look at the statistics for the Utah Jazz the last 3 years now, they almost eliminate.
They're always good on the defense.
They almost eliminate interior shot attempts, layups.
Just don't go in the paint on them.
No, they don't.
That's what makes them good.
You look. There's only a few guys that have done that to other teams. Ben Wallace did that. Dikembe Mutombo. There's been a few big men. Shaq, even though he wasn't super dominant defensively, he was so big. There's been a few guys who have done things like that.
The only case against Gobert is that he's won it before, and we've seen awards where if you've won it before, the guy that hasn't gotten the award is probably going to get more awards than you. That's just kind of how it is in the league for whatever reason.
And in today, with such dominant guard and wing play, they value the guy that can guard those guys more. And
they guard the person that can guard 1 through 5.
Which Giannis, Ben Simmons, those guys, those are.
Which is fine. I mean, that's definitely a major value.
So do you want to talk about Coach of the Year?
Yeah, I think that's our last of the awards that are given up. But my Coach of the Year was Lloyd Pierce, just from the fact that the Hawks are most likely going to take a huge leap in terms of wins.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in past podcasts, but the additions that they had in the offseason, it's just inevitable that they're going to take that leap into what they've wanted to be the last couple of years and what they're hoping their young guys are going to be. But I just think Coach of the Year usually goes to the guy that's coaching a team that took a unexpected leap. So
yeah, it's weird because almost none of our award picks, other than a few of them, are the same guy. Yeah. But almost all of your choices were my runner-up. I had Lloyd Pierce as my runner-up for the same reasons. The Hawks, there's no way they don't take a jump. It would be really disappointing if they don't.
Yeah, it would be shocking. Yeah. Who was your winner?
My coach of the year, I had Terry Stotts, simply because the Blazers, I think they're going to take a big jump. And
that's the one that I kind of just forgot about because Terry Stotts has been in the league for so long and coached Portland for a long time. But yeah, Portland's a team that we think is going to take a huge leap in terms of what they did last year.
And I think he's been underrated in the development of his guard play. Like, obviously Dame is responsible for just being a bucket, but you look at the development of CJ and Gary Trent.
He wasn't a guy that always averaged 20.
Gary Trent. I've always thought people were going to sleep on Gary Trent, but he had quite the emergence.
And Ant Simon's a guy that we could definitely see take a leap for sure. He was a late first-round pick too.
Yeah, so. I think Stotts is one of the best at developing talent, along with I think Nick Nurse is probably the best in the league at that.
Another guy that I've thought about was Billy Donovan.
Yep.
Who won the Coach of the Year last year? Do you remember?
Budenholzer. He won it.
Okay.
Yep.
It
was weird. They just gave it to the best record. They do that a lot.
And that's fair, but Billy Donovan for the Bulls, that's such an upgrade at coach that I could see. It's confusing because the Bulls are this team that's like we don't know what their young guys are, but we kind of see what they could be. And if he can get the best out of their young guys, and they take a leap as the Hawks do, if they take a leap and wins, he definitely has to be up there, especially if it's his first season coaching the team. But
I think another guy is Monty Williams. He had a big year in Phoenix.
Yep. Okay.
Chris Paul would help him a lot.
Yep.
Like I said, Chris Paul makes everybody look better, and he.
Monty Williams is a good coach.
Monty Williams is a good pick.
People don't talk about him enough.
I think Doc Rivers could have an emergence year in Philly, because we saw for so long them just not meet expectations, and I think if they come in and do that, we'll go, oh my gosh, was Bruce Brown the problem? We need to give Doc Rivers his credit.
Yeah.
And I think he has a big chance there too. So that's it for the awards. We could predict like all NBA teams, but that would take forever, and that's hard. But
that'll probably be on another episode.
Yeah, we could do that maybe mid-season.
And then
or something.
the second part,
our breakout.
The second and last part for these episode 4, we wanted to talk about potential breakout players. You want to talk about guys on the Nuggets, and there's two teams that have a lot of potential breakout players for me, and it's on Denver. You got Michael Porter Jr. We saw what Jamal Murray could do in the bubble.
Yeah. Jamal Murray just has to keep doing it. Yeah. He's already broken out. He just
and
has
then
to keep doing it.
Yep. And then I had a few guys on the Thunder just because they're going to have such a bigger role than they've had in years past. And you got Shea, Darius Baisley, and Luguentz Dort.
Here's the thing I want to talk about, because I know a lot about these guys, obviously. Yeah. People don't realize this. It increased in the bubble, but you'd probably be surprised by this. 3-point percentage-wise, I believe. And I know from watching the games, our best 3-point shooter last season was Darius Baisley. Like his
good pickup, right? Late first round.
Late. Yeah. I remember watching. I was like, "Who's that guy?" Like I had no idea who
he was.
He didn't even
play college. He
came
out of high school.
Yeah, he did that. Like he had like an internship with a shoe company. I think it was not Puma. I don't remember who it was. Anyway, maybe Reebok. He was our like best shooter off the catch. Chris Paul helped a lot with that, obviously, but him and Shea had quite the connection. He's really, really rough as a defender so far, but all we ask for a guy like Darius Baisley is to just get better every day. And
he's a good stretch forward, and you really can't have enough of those, right?
And we can't complain too much about defense when we have Dort, Saw what he did on James Harden, who people put James Harden in the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant category offensively, which I don't know if I agree with that, but you saw what he did to him, just neutralizing him to an extent. Obviously,
like you're not going to stop him.
He's going to get a bucket, but
slow him down.
He's just a big body. He's really athletic. And then I don't know if you remember the Game 7 that we did lose.
He dropped like 30.
Dort's weakness all season was shooting. So they were just leaving him. They were pulling an Andre Roberson. They were like, okay, you can clamp up Harden, but he's going to get his buckets. Dort is going to miss if we leave him open, which he did during that series until Game 7. He just started draining those threes, and it was crazy.
Dort's a guy that just comes out of nowhere. Like even as an undrafted guy, who thought Luke Dort was going to be a starter on a good playoff team? But
people don't realize we didn't give him a full-time contract until right before the shutdown.
Yeah.
Because he was on like a 10-day, and then we extended it, and we're like, okay, this guy can really hoop, and we didn't have anyone else, so we were like, all right, we got to give him a contract, and yeah, it was a great decision, and he's part of the future now. Like he's part of that mold now that they're looking to go forward with, and obviously Shea and Bazley are more offensively talented, but Dort is, he's right there, man.
And my other candidate for breakout players is Marvin Bagley. He was the number 2 pick for a reason. Should he have been picked over Luka? Absolutely not.
Not Trae Young either.
But yeah, Bagley's a guy that he's produced pretty well when he's healthy, but the health has been the biggest problem.
When he's healthy is quite a...
And for a Sacramento team that just can't figure it out, Marvin Bagley's going to have to be a guy that takes that next step and breaks out. Like, I could see him being a 20-10 guy if he wants to be. Like, him, Buddy Hield, and Bagley have got to be those guys for Sacramento if they want to get out of this rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. He
could play the 4 or the 5 too.
I don't really think there's any questions about his play. I think the only question about his play is he's a little undersized and he's a little awkward for the 4 and the 5. It's like, what is he?
Yeah, a little tweener.
Yeah. But if he can stay healthy, he's gonna help them tremendously, and he could have a breakout year. I agree. We had Christian Wood on there too. He's weird because he already kind of broke out towards the end of the season, and it's more like, okay, just keep doing what you were doing.
But like his stats for the season wouldn't have shown that he totally broke out.
Yeah.
It was more like it was the games when after Andre Drummond got traded. It was when he was like the guy for us offensively, and we were terrible as a team, obviously, but he showed what he can do. As like stretch the floor, he dunks literally everything.
I'm just glad for his case that D'Antoni is gone.
Yeah.
Because he would have been turned into a spot up shooter at the 4.
He's more than that.
That would just ruin him. Yeah, and
I think he'd have more of a chance to break out if he was still on Detroit, because Houston's a team that already has proven guys, and it's hard to break out as a player on a team full of proven guys.
Of course.
He's going to have better statistical numbers for this season than he did last year. So, and then this is an interesting one for me, but I had Jeremy Grant because he's a guy has proven to be a really good NBA player. Like, he fits a lot of roles, and he's versatile, can guard 1 through 5, and he's consistently gotten better on the defensive end, but he hasn't gotten that opportunity to be one of the go-to scorers. And on Detroit, he will be one of those guys. Like, he signed $20 million for a reason, and he's going to start. So yeah, I think his numbers increase for sure.
Yeah, he can do everything. He can defend 1 through 5. Yeah. He can shoot now. He can handle the ball well. He's perfect for Detroit and what they're going for.
Versatility and defense. Yep.
He's got that mentality. I remember you said the last episode that this team reminds.
There's a certain culture that Detroit wants to have that's really similar to the Heat.
Yeah, and he's perfect for. He's a Heat guy. He's a Pistons guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It works out well. Another guy we had was DeJounte Murray. Man, I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about Chris Dunn for Atlanta and how I said he's one of the best.
Like, DeJounte is like a bigger version of Chris Dunn, really.
And he can.
And maybe even a little better on the offensive end as well.
Yeah, which isn't saying much. Neither of them are. Yeah. Neither of them are going to give you even.
I think DeJounte hits his stride when DeMar and LaMarcus Aldridge are gone, which is most likely after the season, maybe during the season.
Yeah.
DeJounte is just the guy that they need to build around. I'm not sure how DeRozan and Aldridge haven't gotten traded yet. I just think they have so many young unproven guys that would take a step forward if they were given more of an opportunity. But I think DeJounte.
I read a thing about DeJounte Murray. I remember he was kind of a steal. Like I remember when he got taken late in the draft.
And that's what the Spurs do. They get guys in the late round.
We're like, how did they get him? And I read a thing that it said that last year he was like first guy to practice every game or every practice, and that's super impressive for a young guy. And if you're first to practice and you clamp the opposing point guard, you know Popovich is gonna love you. So I don't know how long Pop stays in the league, but as long as
Pop will not most likely be there for a rebuild, which I think they're headed towards. So Pop's time in San Antonio is probably up. Maybe he just wants to retire from coaching as a whole, but you never know what those guys are thinking. But I had another guy, it's T.J. Warren, solely off the fact of the bubble that he had. He took a massive step forward with
Warren,
the bubble.
right?
Yeah.
He was hoping,
it was
man.
Crazy. Like
I think
he was what we thought Oladipo was a couple years ago. Right?
I think the crazy thing about T.J. Warren is he's always been a mid-range killer. Like he's always missed that 3-point from his game. Yeah. He was step back, pull up, Hezo, like he was doing crazy things whole bubble. Obviously, it kind of fell off towards the playoffs.
He must have been nice in AAU in high school.
Man,
that's like his atmosphere, apparently.
He just gets buckets, That's what he does. And if he can do even half of that again, say they give him 23 a game, something like that.
Yeah,
they're dangerous.
The thing with Indiana is they got Oladipo as an expiring, and then Sabonis, who was an all-star last year. People forget that. He's really good as a 4. Miles Turner is a guy that we've hoped that would break out. It just hasn't happened yet. And I don't think it's going to happen in Indiana. No. It'll have to be on another team. But
I agree.
Brogdon as well. I mean, it's just easy to see Warren putting up good numbers from what he did in the bubble. Like, he obviously got a bigger role since the pandemic. So
this is kind of unrelated, but it's kind of crazy. As you know that there's what is it? There's only 3 TJs in the NBA.
They were all on the same team.
And they were all on the Pacers last year until TJ Leaf just went to the Thunder. But they had TJ Leaf, TJ Warren, and TJ McConnell. So that's kind of crazy, but that's unrelated.
That is really weird.
I
feel like they did it on purpose, but at the same time, they kind of made sense for their team.
Yeah. So another guy we had was Zion Williamson.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean the sensation.
No minutes restriction. He's playing. He's healthy.
I
think he lost weight. God, I hope so.
For his sake. To give him like 23 and 12 in his sleep. He would have won Rookie of the Year if he could just play games.
He'll shoot 65% and be good.
Which is crazy because you see him and he has the efficiency of a DeAndre Jordan, a Drummond, but he's 6'7". Like he's not a center.
Crazy.
It's insane. Crazy. He just knows how to get buckets.
He can hit the 3 too.
If he's hitting threes,
he's one of those guys that you're excited to see over the next decade, and you just hope and pray to God that he stays healthy, because what he can be is one of the best players the league has ever seen.
Yeah,
right?
He's a freak.
He's got everything, really.
Yeah. So if he's that, and Ingram's doing his job, and
Pelicans are a weird team for me because they're a good solid team, but I don't see
the West is stacked, and you don't know how things will work out.
Yeah, they're a young team.
Yeah.
It really next season, for them to make the playoffs, Zion has to take that next step and be an all-star. And Ingram's got to be that guy. Lonzo's got to take a step forward. Bledsoe's got to do his thing. They're going to be a solid team. It's just they're in one of the best. Yeah. I think they're in the best.
You think they're a playoff team in the East?
For sure. I think I think they grab 6 through 8 in the East for sure. Like maybe even higher. I mean, they got so much talent there. It's inevitable that they do some damage in the East.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. So
and then shoot, who was our last guy? We
We
got DeAndre Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk a little bit about DeAndre Ayton.
We already said in the last episode, the guy, you bring Chris Paul in and your center's going to thrive.
Right.
And he's got the most skill any center Chris Paul's played with. And as long as he stays off the steroids, you know.
Yeah, like we got to think about it this way. CP3 made DeAndre Jordan an all-star. He made Clint Capella put up maybe kind of all-star numbers. I mean, he puts up really good numbers, but
made Steven Adams.
Chris Paul has never had a guy at center as talented as DeAndre.
No, not
like
even close.
What DeAndre can do is pretty unreal. I mean, great in the post, already hits the midi. I think at some point he stretches out to the three more because once you hit that midi, it's only a matter of time before you're hitting that three too. So
he had Aaron Baines mentoring him last year, and Aaron Baines doesn't like to do anything but shoot threes. So
yeah,
that's big for him. And then our last thing, but not least, is the entire Bulls starting lineup.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, besides Levine, because he already kind of broke out last year.
Yeah, but I'm really high on Kobe White. Kobe White had a Trae Young / Cam Reddish type of year as he struggled first half of the season, and then right before
he figured it out.
Before the pandemic, he was hooping.
And that's just how it is as a rookie.
Especially as a guard.
Very rarely do you see guys come in as a guard that put up the numbers like a John Morant did last year, who's super rare, and he's going to be even better this year, I think.
And I guess we can't say Patrick Williams breaks out because hasn't played yet.
It's just the Bulls are one of the most interesting teams in the league for this reason. And it's like they've had lottery pick after lottery pick, but it hasn't turned into wins yet, and it's just from a lack of trust in the front offense and an awful coach that they've had the last few years. But
nobody suffered from the disastrous coaching of Jim Boylan more than Lauri Markkanen. Like, he sat him in the corner, he destroyed his minutes, he gave him no consistency, and I think, and Markkanen's been one of the most outspoken guys about that. So,
and Levine.
Yeah, and Levine.
God, Levine wanted him out there.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think they got a new culture. Billy Donovan does well with big men, and Markkanen can stretch the floor. And
we haven't talked about Wendell Carter either, who was also one of their 7th picks. So Wendell, he's like undersized for a center.
He can really rebound.
Yeah, and if for an undersized center, like, there's only so much you can do against like 7-footers, but I think he makes up for it on the offensive end.
Yeah.
And then you think about like Lauri Markkanen's like what, 7? He's at least 7
I think he's
foot.
6'11", but how they are with the heights.
Pretty much, exactly. So you pair him with the power forward, the length of Markkanen, I don't think it hurts as much. So
yeah, they're gonna have a good year, even if they don't make the playoffs. They got a lot of breakout.
Like,
players.
I'm a Pistons fan, so obviously I don't really care for the Bulls, but like, you can't deny the level of talent that they have and the talent that's unproven. So I really hope for their sake that they can prove it this year, because it's just kind of sad to see an entire team being brought down by one man, and that was Jim Boylan. But he's out of there. Billy Donovan has proven to be a good coach, so it should be really interesting for the Bulls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all the time we got for episode 4. We'll be back for episode 5 pretty soon. We hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to drop a like, hit the subscribe button. We're on the way up. So, love you guys. Peace out.
See ya.